Well, hey there, YouTube folks everywhere. Welcome to the North Georgia GMRS live stream. Thanks for hanging out with me. We are just a few minutes ahead of the broadcast time. This typically gives me an opportunity to evaluate how things are going and make last-minute adjustments.
Atlanta 414, WRJR 877, call for a radio check.
Make sure the audio is good and write checks.
299, WRJ3, RJE 398, you're loud and clear.
So everybody checking.
You're the same signals, strong and clear.
Ahead of the net.
We're going to go ahead and clear, waiting for the net. Thanks again.
And that's okay. We can do that.
Atlanta 299, clear.
All right, let's see. Let me get all of my... Oh, I need this guy right here. Make sure this thing has muted audio, or this is going to be a train wreck. There we go. Okay, so this goes up here, out of the way, but where I can see it, there's my script. I need my log, and that's not my log, and that's not my log, but I'm going to need that where I can see it. Let's see here. Well, I'm a lot less prepared than I thought I was. Okay, so that goes right there. And then let me put the system manager here so I can see which repeaters light up. Alright, and then, oops, I need to be able to see our membership roster because I'll have to glance at that from time to time. And somewhere around here is a log. Let's see, is it on this page? Yep. There we go. Okay, so it is, oh, yeah, it's not January anymore. And it's not March. It must be February 18. Okay, so... Okay, and that's got to be wide, otherwise I have fits. Okay. All right, folks, we're getting close to being ready. It looks like we've got about 2.5 minutes to go, and I'm excited about tonight's topic. I think folks are going to be a little bit surprised about what I have to say about proper protocol on North Georgia GMRS network. So basically, the FCC says that you have to issue a call sign once every 15 minutes. That's it. That's all that really matters. Nothing else matters. It'd be nice if you had a tactical number and used it, but it doesn't matter if you do or you don't. It doesn't matter if you say over, under, Roger, Billy, Frank, covert operations. None of those things matter. All that really matters is you being able to convey your message over the air. And we don't need any special jargon. We don't need any special lingo. We don't need any special tools or protocols or rules in order to do that. So that's, in a nutshell, what I'm going to talk about. Let me, I still don't have a good way to mute my microphone. Let me clear my throat. I'm going to take the headset off, and hopefully that wasn't too horrible. I don't have a mute button, and so I don't have a good way to mute my cough, and I do tend to cough when I speak this much. So I apologize in advance. It's going to happen. I will try really hard to not cough into the microphone. Okay, half a minute to go, and we'll be kicking this thing into gear. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, I got my emergency notification system up here and running, Bobby. If we have an interruption again, please let me know, as you always do, and I will hopefully be able to just hit a button and get things to start again, unless it's like last week. Then, if that's the case, sorry. So we'll see. Okay, it's time. So let's. Where's my push to talk? There it is. And let's kick this thing into gear. Where's my script? Good evening. Yeah, there it is. Where's my mouse? Oh, for crying out loud. Here we go. Good evening, and welcome to the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. I'll be working off of the Pine Log repeater this evening, but we are linked in with the following repeaters: Sassafras, Lookout Mountain, Somerville, Crawford, Jersey, Noonan, Zebulon, Moreland, McDonough, and the VoIP service. Let me break. Tonight our RF coverage is approximately 31,000 square miles, but our presence is worldwide. This net takes place every Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. I'd like to thank everyone who has made the North Georgia GMRS the most expansive and active GMRS network in the country. Tonight your net control is Atlanta 946, WQIR 514. My name is Justin, and I'm located at Studio B right here in Woodstock, Georgia. On the net, you can talk about your day's activities, radio equipment, or anything you think we'd like to hear. This is a family-based network, so we encourage you to get your family involved. Once the floor is open, it is permissible to address other members of the net by name or tactical unit number. Your FCC call sign is only required when you sign in and sign out of the net. When signing in, please speak slowly and clearly as you give your call sign, your tactical unit number, your name, and your location. Those four things. I need all four of them, otherwise we have to go back and collect them from you. So please, call sign, tactical unit number, name, and location. Let me break. So let's get this thing in gear. At this time, I'll take check-ins from any VoIP users. Anybody checking in through VoIP or Zello, please call Net Control now.
Atlanta 285, C.V. Smith, Myrtleville, Georgia, WRKN 234.
This is Noonan 25, WRCL 957, Joe in the sick bay in Fayetteville. Good evening.
This is WRAT 241, Atlanta 403. Bobby in White County.
This is 253, WQND 274 in PCB, Florida.
KSO 50, WRKI 751. Michael, Knoxville, Tennessee, said we're in and out tonight. This is Atlanta 420, WRFS 771. William from Roswell checking in into the network group here. Over.
All right. That's a pretty good start on Zello. Give it just a moment here to see if we have any more.
This is AGL 150, Stu Millar up in Murrayville, WRKN 839, coming to you on Zello.
Okay, let's see. I was looking for Chattanooga.
Atlanta 434, WRKR 284, checking in from North Forsyth County. Name
Okay, we've got a really, really good start on our VoIP check-ins, and so let me just go to the top and acknowledge what we have so far. We have Atlanta 285 CV Smith in Murrayville. Thank you, CV, for checking in this evening. Looking forward to talking with you. And we have Noonan 25 Joe in the sick bay in Fayetteville. Joe, we hope that you're feeling better, and glad to hear you on the air. I've got you checked in for now, but if we don't hear from you when it's time, then we'll just go ahead and mark you as in and out. But glad you're feeling at least well enough to play radio. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 403 Bobby in White County. Every time you say that, Bobby, it makes me think of White Castle, which is a hamburger joint up north. Uh, I thought you'd be amused by that. Next on my list is Atlanta 253 Donald in Panama City Beach, Florida. Great to have you along with us this evening, Donald. Looking forward to talking with you. And next I have, I didn't catch the TAC number, um, but I have Michael in Knoxville. And I went to look to see if we had a Chattanooga member in Knoxville, and I'm not seeing it, but that doesn't mean anything. It just may be that I'm scrolling through it too fast. So, Michael, if you would come back with your TAC number, I would appreciate that. But first, I want to acknowledge Atlanta 420 William in Roswell. Thank you, William, for checking in with us this evening. And then I heard another check-in from Murrayville, and I believe it was Stu. But just before you gave your TAC number, um, your transmission cut out on me. So if you could come back, Stu, from Murrayville, if that is indeed your name, and give me your check-in one more time, I'd appreciate that. And then I had, I believe it was Atlanta 434. Let me see if I can find 434. Um, I didn't get the name. It's my fault. Let's see, I have Ronald. So Ron, Atlanta 434 in North Forsyth County. Thank you for checking in with us. I'll get you in the log here, and let me go ahead and break. I'd like to hear from Michael in Knoxville. Uh,
This is Michael in Knoxville, Code 50, call sign WRKI 751.
all right, Michael. I've got KT50 as your tactical unit number, and that will work for our purposes this evening. How about Stu in Murrayville? Can you come back and help me get your log information correct?
Sure, Justin. It's ATL 150. Stu Millar out in Murrayville, WRKN 839. Clear and monitoring.
Excellent. Okay, Atlanta 150. I've got you in the log. Good stuff. I appreciate all of that, and thank you for helping me get all of it, cleared up and buttoned up. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next group of check-ins. Of course, if you're still trying to check in on Zello, you're welcome to give it a try. I'll try to leave a big enough break at the end of the check-ins that you can get in. But at this time, Net Control will accept check-ins from any guests, visitors, or new users. This is anyone who is not a member but would like to check in. Please call Net Control now.
This is Atlanta 5543 in Marietta, and that's CHERE, and I'm checking in and out.
WRJI 808, Thomas, Freeman, Georgia, checking in and out. Todd from Cumming, checking in.
270 WRKR 265, Scott from Cumming, checking in. Justin, we had a woman from Marietta that was coming in at the same time, if you want to ask for her call sign there. Over.
This is Atlanta 554. It's Cherie in Marietta. I think you're looking for me. I'm checking in and out.
All right, William. Yes, I got Atlanta 554 Shri. I heard her the first time around, and she sounded just as good the second time she checked in. So we've got Shri, Atlanta 554 in the log, in and out. Glad to hear from you this evening. And we've got you in here as Alpharetta, but it's actually Marietta. So let me make that change.
Please check me in and out.
Hey y'all, this is WREB 450, Atlanta 26. Flipped in beautiful Druid Hills, checking in from Sassafras.
EL 366, WRKJ 581, checking in from North LJ to Sassafras.
Atlanta 435, WRKR 284, Cumming, Georgia, Sassafras.
This is Atlanta 414, WRJR 877, Matt from Kennesaw.
Okay, bear with me here for just one moment while I catch up on some of my notes here. Okay, so this should be that. All right. Okay, so let me go ahead and acknowledge what I have. I have Chattanooga 69, Ronnie from Chickamauga, Mana something, Chicka somewhere, Georgia. I don't know where he said. Chickamauga, maybe. We'll go with that. Thank you, Ron, for checking in with us this evening. I appreciate that. Well, next we have Atlanta 442, Craig in Ackworth. Thank you, Craig, for checking in with us this evening. And we have Noonan 74, Brandon in Noonan. It's great to hear from you this evening. Next we have Atlanta 141, Ken in Big Canoe, sounding terrific this evening. And we have our longtime friend, Atlanta 225, Mike in Buford. Mike is in and out with us this evening, but it's great to hear from you, and hope to catch up with you again on the radio sometime very soon. Next we have Atlanta 26 Flip in Druid Hills, the beautiful Druid Hills. And Flip, I just want to say thanks for your assistance this evening in logging. It's great knowing I've got some backup when I get behind on things. And speaking of getting behind on things, we had a check-in from North Allijay, and I completely missed it. So, station that checked in from North Allijay, would you please check in with us again? After that station, we had Atlanta 435, Marcia from Cumming. It's great to hear from you, Marcia. Looking forward to talking with you in a little bit. And we have Atlanta 414, Matt in Kennesaw. So we have a pretty full log already, but that's okay. If we have any additional stations wishing to check in, please do so after we hear from our North Allijay check-in. Station checking in from North Allijay, please call Net Control and help me fill in a log.
ETL 366, Doug from North Allijay checking in.
Excellent. ATL 366, Doug in North Allijay. We've got you in a log in the position that you were supposed to be. So any additional check-ins, please call Net Control now. Okay. Let's see. Says that we've got good data, but it looks like it's way, way behind. I don't know why.
This is Atlanta 106, WRKP 206, Mark from Dallas, Georgia.
Mark in Dallas. All right, Mark, I was distracted with some of the issues that we're having on the video side of thing, and I missed your TAC number. Can you come back with that one more time, Mark in Dallas, and then we're going to go ahead to the top and see if we can get this thing started.
This is Atlanta 106, WRKP 206, Mark in Dallas.
Okay. Atlanta 106, Mark in Dallas. We've got you in log. All right. Will there be opportunities for anyone who wishes to check in beyond this? Once we get to the end, we'll open up for more check-ins. So if you didn't get in, don't fret. Hang around, and we'll make every effort to get you in here. But for now, we'll go back up to the top of the log, and we'll get started with comments and things. But before we do, as mentioned on the Facebook post, I thought tonight would be a good opportunity to talk about radio protocol for GMRS. And I think some of you will be surprised at what I've got to say. But in any case, let me go ahead and start off with my thoughts on radio protocol for GMRS. Let me break. The FCC requires that we identify our transmissions, and we are to re-identify if we are on the air for a period of time greater than 15 minutes. So if you are 15 minutes into your conversation with someone, then that would be an appropriate time to come on with your FCC call sign and re-identify, and continue to do that every 15 minutes from that point on. Those are the rules. And so your FCC call sign is required by the FCC once every 15 minutes. Now, how do you make a call in the world of GMRS? Well, let's talk about that for a moment. Let me break. There are a number of ways to make a call in GMRS, and one of those ways are you could come on the air, you can key the microphone, and you can say, Gary, hey Gary, this is Justin. I'd like to talk to you. And if Gary is listening, if you're on simplex or if you're on a repeater, if Gary is listening and Gary answers, then you've made a call, and that's okay. That is probably unexpected by a lot of people because there wasn't a tactical unit number involved and there wasn't a lot of other information involved. Remember that the transmission does have to be identified, and you should do that at the end of your transmission or once every 15 minutes. So that's a perfectly acceptable way to begin a conversation in GMRS radio. Now, we do have some expectations on a repeater network, but that's just more of kind of a commonality or a way that we behave and operate here than it is a if you don't get it right, you're going to be banished. So there is none of that here. We kind of don't have that stigma about you got to get it right every time. We want you to more than anything, we want you to come on the air. Let me break. We want you to come on the air and have conversations with people and communicate and just get yourselves comfortable and familiar with radio. So the protocol typically for making a call on a repeater network is to identify the station that you're calling. In that case, if I were going to call and have a conversation with Flip, I would say Atlanta 26, Atlanta 946, and that would be the way that I would make that call. So at that point, when I say Atlanta 26 and let off of the key, I'm expecting Atlanta 26 to come on the air and acknowledge my call, and then we begin conversation. So let's just demonstrate that right now. Flip, if you don't mind. Atlanta 26, Atlanta 946.
Atlanta 946, Atlanta 26. Hey, Justin, how you doing?
Hey, Flip, I appreciate you acknowledging that call. I just wanted to say, hey. So, and it can be as simple as that. It really doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. Now, we already have our call signs in the log, so we're good to go as far as that goes. But if this were the normal world, we would close our conversation, and I would say something like, it was great talking with you, Flip, and I'll catch up with you again soon. This is Atlanta 946 WQIR 514, and I would say clear. And Flip would do something very similar. So that is a typical GMRS call and conversation. Now, many of you may have heard me initiate a call, and it's my habit to do so. And I will say something like Atlanta 948. This is Atlanta 946 WQIR 514. It's just my habit. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's just what I do. I think I may have been on a key a little too long there. But as I was saying, that's just my habit. That's just what I do. It's not what you have to do. It's perfectly fine to issue your call sign at the end of the QSO. So all of the other things that you hear people say and do, the Rogers, the overs, the unders, the Mikes and the Gilligans, and all the other things that you might hear people talk about or make mention of at the end of a call or in the middle of a call or just acknowledging something. None of that is important, and it's fine to do. We kind of discourage it because that lingo, that jargon tends to make the novice radio user a little bit intimidated, and it's unnecessary. It's not. There's no purpose for it in GMRS radio, and so don't feel like you need to know all of the rhymes and the lingo and the right things to say here and there. So my point in all of this, let me break. My point in all of this is to say that GMRS radio is meant to be a family communications platform. And with that in mind, although you are required to offer a call sign with your transmissions, we want the transmissions to be simple, concise, friendly, open, inviting, and welcoming for anyone who wants to come on the air. Now, what are some of the things that you shouldn't talk about on radio? Well, that should be obvious. We don't want to talk about things like politics or religion or things of an adult nature. Those are subjects to be avoided on the radio because we intend to have young people and little ears listening. This is a family platform. So there's no room on this platform for adult language and behavior, and there's no room on this platform for conversations about politics or religion, because regardless of the conversation you're having, which may be perfectly agreeable between the members of the conversation, someone somewhere is going to be listening and disagree and could very well be offended by the remarks being made, even though they seem perfectly acceptable within the context of that conversation. So let me break. So just to reiterate, conversations on GMRS radio are meant to be simple. They are meant to be open and friendly, and conversations that we don't want to have on GMRS radio are those that revolve around adult themes and politics and religion. So with that in mind, one more point I'd like to make is that because this is a very extensive repeater network, it is very common for people to quick key the microphone. And I'm going to demonstrate what that is. Let me break. I'm going to begin speaking the very moment that I click on the key button. And so when I begin speaking on the very moment that I click on the key button, the first word or word and a half or two words get cut off. And when that happens, it can be very difficult for the person on the other end to understand whatever call sign you were calling to. So if I were to say, let me demonstrate that one more time. Atlanta 26, Atlanta 946, WQIR 514. By doing that, by calling the very moment that I press the button, it's very likely that the person that I called may have only heard 6, or may not have heard his tactical unit number at all. That being the case, I have to repeat myself, and that may be the first time that he's clearly understood my transmission. So it's very important when you're keying a microphone on a linked repeater network to key the mic and wait just a beat, just a moment. Give the equipment, all of the machines, an opportunity to get connected and operating before you begin speaking. And when we're checking in, sometimes that becomes a source of confusion because people will throw their tactical number out there right away, and I don't hear it, and I have to ask them to come back with that. Now, most of the time, when I don't catch all of the check-in information, it's my fault. It's because I'm distracted. I've got too many lights and too many bells and too many whistles in here, and I'm very easily distracted. And so 99.9% of the time, when I miss somebody's tactical unit number, it's because I missed it, not because they didn't communicate it well. But there is that opportunity, too, that when you first key the microphone, I might miss it. So that being the case, please get into that habit of keying the mic and waiting just a moment before you begin to speak. Let me break one more time. And this is going a little bit longer than I intended, but I'm only halfway through my note. I'm just kidding. I got one more thing here. Well, two more things. Long conversations. If you're in a lengthy conversation with someone and you're just chewing a rag and you've been on the air for a while, it's a good idea occasionally between QSOs to make a little hole between your transmission and the one that you just heard. So what I mean by that is when someone lets off of the key and it's your turn to talk, wait just a half a moment. Just leave a little space in there because someone may be trying to make a break. And the way that that person might be doing that is, during when I finish speaking the sentence that I want to talk and I let off the key, if I leave a big enough window in there that gives someone else an opportunity to hit the push to talk and say, "Hey, this is 946," or interject something in some way so that hopefully one of the people in the conversation will hear that and give that person an opportunity to interject or interrupt or what have you. There may be a number of reasons to interrupt. There could be that the person interrupting has a point to make that is relevant to the conversation being had, or maybe the person has a question about something that's being said in that conversation. It could be that that person has an important message that they need to convey to someone else. It'll only take a second. Give me a break, please. So there are a number of opportunities or a number of reasons why someone may need an opportunity to get on the air in between your QSO. Let me break. I need a drink. Okay, so that's what I have in my notes for GMRS radio etiquette. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and go through our list of check ins and see if anyone has any questions, comments, or need clarification on any of that, or if they have anything else that they want to talk about. We don't necessarily have to talk about this. So, first on my list, I have Atlanta 285, CV Smith in Murrayville. CV, what are your thoughts?
Atlanta 285 here, Justin. Clarification. Of course, we're new on the network, don't have radios yet, talking through Zello. So here's a question. The rules about politics, religion, etc. on the network, as I understand it, there are private channels on the GMRS radios. So do those rules apply to private channels between where we're talking simplex rather than duplex over the network? Over.
An excellent question, CV, and I appreciate that. And so, yes, religious speak or political speak or anything of that nature is things that we want you to avoid on the air on our network. However, if you're speaking in simplex, or if you're speaking across your own repeater and you're not on our network, then that's you. That's we don't have any involvement in that, and we don't have any concern over it. We don't regulate that in any way or shape or form. So that's between you and the FCC. The only concern that we have are conversations that are taking place over the network. And again, one of the things that I want people to remember when they're having conversation over the network is that there are a lot of other people listening. And especially today with such a surge in membership, there are so many people listening. And simple comments can have an impact way beyond what your intention is. People will hear things and understand them maybe in a different way than you intended. So it's very important that we guard our speech and try very hard to not say something offensive. And I tell you, I've been guilty of that in the past. I've said things over the air that I didn't mean to be offensive, but was taken offensively by another person, and it's unfortunate. It's not my intention. I deeply, sincerely regret having made that remark and having hurt someone's feelings, but that's the point of all of this, is try to avoid that. Now, at the same time, there's going to be some people that are going to choose to be offended over simple things, no matter what, and that's something you really can't do a whole lot about, because that's their own thing. But with regard to having a conversation over simplex radio channels, um, you're the boss there. CV, are you with me? All right, CV. Hopefully that answered your question. And if you have any further questions, feel free to either hit me up on Facebook or later during the net, or anytime you hear me on the air, and I'll try to answer any questions that you have. Next on my list, we have Noonan 25 Joe at the sick bay at the Fayetteville headquarters. Joe, how you feeling, and what are your thoughts?
Thanks, Justin. And yeah, for those of you that we keep up with on Facebook, Mary Catherine and I do have COVID. We are a little over a week into it. Fortunately for us, our symptoms have been mild. We try to stay pretty healthy. I think that's actually helped. It's been like a bad cold. Although not being able to smell or taste really is a weird sensation.
I
but
bet.
we're building up some super strong antibodies and hope to be on the recovery soon. We get to leave quarantine next Tuesday. Let me let it recycle. just to add to what you've already said, I think that's very smart advice. Justin, be nice to people, be welcoming, be patient, be friendly. This is a family network. There's always people listening, a lot more people listening than actually get on the network. People can go buy a blister pack radio and turn it on and hear all of us, and there's probably a lot of people out there. So really love the network and love all you guys, and looking forward to getting out of the sick bay. Back to you, Justin. Noonan 25, WRCL 957.
Fantastic, Joe. Yes, and with so many new members and so much more traffic on the air these days than there was, even in recent past, we have a lot more opportunities to influence people outside of our network, and we hope that those influences will be positive. I know that I hear time and again people were just kind of scanning through the radio and they heard some traffic, and that's what sparked their interest, and that's what brought them into finding out more about who is this and what is this, and how do we get involved. And so we would hope that the conversations that are happening over the air throughout the day would be conversations that would spark that interest. And for the most part, I think that they have been. Very very little have I heard that I've been concerned about. So I think that that this group does an excellent job of keeping conversations friendly and cordial and inviting and welcoming and something that somebody would want to be a part of. So appreciate that. Hope that you glad to hear that you're not having any severe symptoms, and hope that you're able to endure your quarantine for the next several days, and look forward to your escape from quarantine on Tuesday. So back to the real world and back in action. Appreciate that, Joe. Looking forward to catching up with you again soon. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 403. Bobby in White Castle. White Castle is a hamburger place up in the northern states. You probably have never been to one outside of the time zone.
Well, Mr. Northern, I've eaten more of those rat burgers than you can shake a stick at. And Crystal Burger is a lot better down here in the South. And I hope Joe and Mary Catherine get better. 25 and 26. Well wishes here. But yeah, I've heard of White Castle. I've eaten there 1,000 times. Come on. I'm from New Jersey. Anyway, I agree with basically what you had to say, pretty much 100%. My only pet peeve with the etiquette or anything else would be the
Kerchunking.
Kerchunking for the repeaters. That's just one of my big pet peeves. And, other than that, everybody else does a pretty good job with this network. I don't know what else to say on the subject.
Well, that's an excellent point that you raise, Bobby. And for all the new folks on here, why don't you explain what you mean by Kerchunking?
Okay, Kerchunking is basically when you sit there and key the mic to either look at the map or try to hear a repeater report of whether you're making it into the repeater or not. And chances are 99.9% of the time you are making it into the repeater. And if you just look at the map, that's on our website, you'll see that you're making it into the repeater. But to keep doing it and doing it and doing it, some of us that monitor the radio all day, yes, it's a big headache here. Call out your tactical number, ask for a radio check. But there's millions of people here that will tell you if you're making it in or not. And it is hard on the equipment. No one's really mentioned that, but ask Gary, Atlanta 60, that pounding the repeaters on and off is not good for the repeaters, especially in a system this big.
Yes, and that's an excellent point. And to further that point, the FCC requires that we identify our transmissions. So if you're just keying the mic and listening for the tail squelch or watching the map to see if the repeater lights up and you don't identify yourself, you're actually in violation of the FCC rules. So we would hope that most of the folks that are a part of North Georgia GMRS would be concerned and interested in following the rules. And so if you're not aware that you have to identify your transmission, you do. You do have to identify. And so if you are just checking to see how your machine is working and you want to know if you're making it in, the best way to do that is to ask for a radio check, as I heard several people do just minutes before the net. And that's perfectly a perfectly acceptable practice. And you can do a radio check each day. I've heard members come on the air in the morning and start off the day with a radio check. Am I getting out there? Yeah, you're getting out there, just like you were yesterday, and just like you probably will tomorrow. But that's okay. Just keep asking for radio checks. We don't. I would much rather hear you ask for a radio check than hear that kerchunking that Bobby is talking about. And I agree with Bobby. That is very, very, very annoying. And that is a quick way to aggravate people. Now, there have been times I've been moving stuff around on my desk and bumped the microphone and may or may not have kerchunked the repeater. I know that it happens from time to time. If I suspect that I've done it, then I'll come on the air and acknowledge those last few kerchunks were mine. I apologize. I've actually done that in the past when I noticed that my push to talk was being activated when a particular box that I have made was coming into contact with the chassis of the radio that was causing the push to talk to engage and disengage. I have a plastic business card wedged between that particular box and the radio to prevent that now, but it can happen. So good stuff, Bobby. I appreciate that. Next, we're going to go to Panama City Beach, Florida, and check in with Atlanta 253, Donald. Donald, what are your thoughts with regards to protocol and the right way to make calls on North Georgia GMRS network? All right. Donald doesn't have any thoughts. He must be busy at the hot tub. Okay. Well, not hearing from Donald. Being down at Panama City Beach, I would imagine that he is on his way to or from or is already in the hot tub. Had a conversation with Donald earlier this week, and I just expressed to him that I know he's the one who easily finds himself in hot water. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to, I believe it was KT50, Michael in Knoxville. Michael, it's great to have you with us this evening. What are your thoughts on GMRS protocol? Okay, leaving a big blank space in here because if I key the mic, it's going to mess these guys up from trying to get into the Zello app to get in. So that's part of why I leave a nice big break. All right, KT50, Michael in Knoxville. We're not hearing from you, so I'm going to go ahead and show you in and out of the log. If you would like to make comments at some point during the program, feel free to do so. Anytime you can get a break in. I know that can be tough with Zello. Hopefully, it's not the reason you're not talking. But next on my list, I have Atlanta 420, William in Roswell. William, do you have any remarks regarding protocol and etiquette on the radio?
Yes, I'm transmitted out of the Sassafras tower right now. I got to agree with you. I think all of our members, most of us are pretty easygoing, and even if people haven't gotten their GMRS license and have found their way into our repeaters there, we'd rather have you say something, and rather than the tail end little static there. because that's the way we can help you, walk you through the process of getting your GMRS license. And for those that are already licensed with the GMRS and they just haven't gotten used to or gotten in with a membership yet, we understand, finances can be tough there, but we still want you to participate every now and then, and let's stay connected until the time when it is possible for you. So, we want to help people, not hurt people, and you're right, we have to be sensitive to certain topics and things that come out there. So, I'll take a break here. Over.
Okay, yes, and that's a good point with new users, new people that have just picked up a radio, and maybe don't know the rules. We don't want to chase anybody off. If somebody's on the GMRS frequencies and they don't have a license, we don't want to chase anybody off. What we want to do is encourage and coach them into what they need to do to become legal. So that's one thing that I've got a bunch of kids here in the neighborhood that are running around with little Walmart radios, and I don't even know what radios that they're using, but I hear them on the air in the afternoons a couple times a week, and I've tried several times to engage them in conversation, unsuccessfully. But I know that sometimes it's irritating when you hear that chatter and you know that it's not right or it's not legal. But remember, we share FRS frequencies, and sometimes what you're hearing could very well be an FRS radio in what seems like unlicensed traffic could very well be perfectly legal under FRS rules. So bear in mind that could be what's going on sometimes when you hear unlicensed radio traffic on your GMRS radio. So with that in mind, thank you, William. I appreciate your comments, and we'll move on next to Atlanta 150, Stu in Murrayville. Stu, what are your thoughts? You have any questions?
Justin, my thoughts are, I'm very grateful to be part of this. I'm a total novice. I feel very fortunate that someone pointed me in your direction. I've been spending the last couple weeks just listening to try and get the scope of it and the feel of it. And what I found is that, people have been very encouraging, very friendly. It's been very informative. We have a meeting tomorrow with ATL 60, which I'm very excited about. So I'll be learning more about equipment and having him dial me in. I would just say, as far as questions, I tried to reach out to CV today, and I followed the protocol that you said, and I waited not quite a minute in between transmissions, but I would say maybe 50 seconds. And CD came back and said they all came to him one right after another, as though I had not paused at all and then said I couldn't reach him and I signed off. So I don't know if that's a technical thing or if I've done something wrong. So can you give some sage advice to a rookie?
Stu, now that you mention it, I recall hearing you make those calls this morning. And I was listening to you by way of RF, and I heard you make the call and pause, and make the call and then pause. So I could acknowledge that indeed you did an excellent job of reaching out and making a call over the air, just like you ought to. But as far as how things work in Zello land, well, we're kind of, when you're in Zello, you're kind of not really in the radio world. It's more of a digital domain, and it's actually possible to call someone from a Zello device to a Zello device without even going over the air. But that's a separate matter, and it's perfectly acceptable that you called him the way that you did. But I think what likely happened is that when you made those calls by way of Zello, uh, they may have not followed the path in real time like they would over the air. And I completely believe that CV would have heard you make all of those calls in quick succession on his end. Um, I couldn't tell you exactly why that happens. I would imagine that those digital messages are being handled probably somewhat similar to the way that a text message gets handled through the network. So it could very well be that for whatever reason the the network was busy when you made your first call, so it recorded that information to deliver it digitally when the opportunity was better. And by the time that opportunity came, you had made all three of your transmissions, and and CV heard them all at once. So that that's the best I can do as far as explaining why that happened. Once you get into the RF side of things, that flow of communication will be a little more natural. But I think as long as you're using Zello, you're going to experience some of that. But it's great to have you on the air. And for a total novice, I did hear your transmission this morning, and I think you did a fantastic job. So you sound like an old pro. And I'm glad that you feel welcome in this group. That is exactly our goal. We want people to be excited about radio, and we're glad that you are. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 434 Ron in North Forsyth. Ron, do you have any questions or comments, or what are your thoughts about adequate on North Georgia GMRS?
434, I do have a comment about Zello. It seems as if there is a delay, which may explain some of the problems that the previous operator was having. I also want to say that you're doing a fabulous job explaining all the, I guess, idiosyncrasies of GMRS radio. I'm a new user. I'm very excited about being part of the North Georgia GMRS network, and I've actually gotten at least two of my friends to join.
Fantastic.
One has another gold family plan, and another is a single user, and I have another family that's also interested in joining on, and I'm hoping that we can all get together and have a lot of great conversations.
Yes, indeed, and it's a great platform for that and for other things. We've enjoyed using GMRS radio, like in the boat out at the lake, and people can use it while they're hiking or camping. And there's just so many applications for GMRS radio, and for amateur radio too, for that matter. So let's not forget um, something that I often refer to. GMRS radio is a gateway hobby to other radio habits. And what I mean by that is this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what you can do with radio. And the pursuit of your ham radio license is the next logical step from here. Once you're comfortable and you're familiar with using the radio here, we definitely encourage our members to keep pursuing that radio interest until you get to the place where you're satisfied with it. But yeah, and you mentioned the delay with Zello. There is a delay, and part of that comes from when you speak into your phone, the thing that your phone is doing is it's taking your voice and converting it to digital, and then it's creating packets, and those packets then go out over the network, over the cellular network, and then through whatever infrastructure that cellular network has to get it to the other device, which in this case is the cellular server that we have, or the Zello server that we have down there in Moreland. So it goes digitally through the network that way, and that's where a lot of that delay comes from. Because once it gets to the Zello server, it then has to be converted back into analog. All those packets will arrive, and they may not arrive in the correct order. So when they get there, the machine that's processing them has to put them back in the correct order and then convert them from digital to analog and then pass that analog information to an actual physical radio that puts your Zello communications out over our network. So yeah, there is some delay there, and that delay is variable. One of those packets might get lost, and the Zello server has to ask the sending device to resend a packet. So the delay could be milliseconds, or the delay could be several seconds, and it's there's no way that we can control or adjust or modify or excuse me any of that. So let me take a break here real quick, and I'll move on. Sorry about that, YouTube, but I warned you, there's going to be a cough. Let me grab a drink real quick before I go back on the air. Okay, well, thank you for that, Ron, and apologize for that little break there. I had to take a break to have a cough and a quick drink. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 554, Shri in Marietta. Shri, I think you said that you were in and out with us, but I didn't mark it that way. So I'm going to see if you're hanging out with us and if you have any comments or questions about protocol and etiquette on the North Georgia GMRS network.
Justin, this is 555. She is in and out because she's a newbie, and tonight was her first time on the radio, and she's just a little intimidated, so you can move on.
All right, Dave, I appreciate that, and I'm glad that Shri checked in with us this evening, and I understand the radio mic shyness and the intimidation. We really hope that this would be a welcoming environment where she wouldn't be intimidated, but I get it, and that's fine. But thanks for coaching her into checking in with us this evening. We're going to go ahead and show her in the log as in and out, so she won't have to come back on, and we'll go ahead and move on. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 319, Thomas in Bremen. I have Thomas in the log as in and out. Thank you, Thomas, for checking in with us. And that brings me next to Atlanta 509, Jesse in Alpharetta. Jesse is also in and out with us this evening. Thank you, Jesse. It's great to hear from you. And that brings me next to Atlanta 402, Todd incoming. Todd, do you have any questions or comments about protocol and etiquette on North Georgia GMRS network? Okay, not hearing anything from Todd. We're going to go ahead and move on. Todd, if you do have comments or remarks, please feel free to come back in at any point. You can get a break, and we'd love to hear from you. But for now, I've got you in a log as in and out. So thank you, Todd, for checking in with us this evening. We're going to go ahead and move on to Atlanta 270, Scott incoming. Scott, any questions or comments, or what are your thoughts on protocol and etiquette with North Georgia GMRS?
Atlanta 270, this is Scott. I have a couple questions, and I'd just like to say thanks for hosting this. This is great. It gives us an opportunity to learn. My first question is about nicknames. I'm a retired Air Force officer, and I go by Major a lot of the time. Is that appropriate? Is it okay to do that? And what's the rules or guidelines around that? And then the second question was around using private channels. Somebody mentioned private channels earlier. Can you expand upon that and kind of tell us what that's all about?
All right, Atlanta 270. Yes. Your first question was about nicknames, and nicknames are perfectly fine to use on the air. Just use that same guidance about adult content. So there are some nicknames that would have an adult theme about them that we would prefer not be mentioned over the air. And but something is As simple as major, I think, is perfectly respectful and is a good term, good phrase to use over the air. So if you'd like to check in as Atlanta 270 major incoming, that would be perfectly fine. And we can certainly take your check in that way. And Scott, it works as well. With regard to your question about private channels, so we hear that phrase PL tones, PL private line. Um, that doesn't mean private line. PL tones refers to, I don't even know what it refers to. It's a specific function by a specific radio manufacturer that came about 100 years ago. I don't know, but it describes the basic function of using tones to activate different functions on a radio. So there's a number of different functions that can be activated with tones or with a sequence of tones. And some of those tones involve just simply opening the squelch and activating a repeater. There are other things that you can do with tones on a radio as well. You can like for instance on a railroad, you would use tones on your microphone. You would use a certain sequence of numbered uh, uh, DTMF tones to call a particular dispatcher. So if you're on a railroad, and there may be, in some cases, there could be 2 or 3 dispatchers that may be relevant to the place where you're working. So depending on which one that you want to talk to at any given moment, you would key in the number relevant to that dispatcher, and a voting system would determine which of the base stations has the best signal quality on you, and would then activate that dispatcher's console for them to come back to you. We don't do anything like that here. That's completely beyond the scope of GMRS. But that is one thing that the PL tones can do. But I think more specifically to your question, you're asking about private channels. Now, I don't really want to talk about private channels because there's no such thing. All of these channels are wide open. And you can get off onto any of the GMRS channels or the FRS channels and get away from the North Georgia GMRS network, and you can have private simplex conversations without a repeater involved. And you can plug tones into your radio so that you can block out other traffic, but those other users may still be able to hear your traffic. So there is no way for you to scramble your message to make it completely private. That's one thing that I don't like about that phrase. It gives a kind of a false impression. Let me break. So bear in mind, it would be more appropriate to refer to PL as being a public line, because even though you're encoding your message with a subaudible tone to activate the repeater, your communications are always public. Even if you're operating in simplex from a handheld to a handheld, anyone who is within range of your units can hear your traffic. So, but let me also interject that if that is the question that you have, is can you operate in simplex? By all means, you can. You could switch your radio channels to simplex channels and a couple of HTs or an HT and a mobile, and you can communicate across your backyard or from your house to the neighbor's house or down the driveway or out to the field in the back. And whatever the case may be, um, once you get off of the North Georgia GMRS network, I no longer care about the nature of your conversation. Um, if you want to talk politics on your simplex channel, if you want to talk religion, if you want to talk about inappropriate activities, um, I hope that you won't. And the FCC would definitely be concerned if you were talking about things that would involve violations of the law. But in any case, once you get off of our network, then I'm no longer concerned about the nature of your communications. But you should be. So I hope that answers your question. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and move next to, see, where am I? Atlanta 5-6, Anna in Holly Springs. Anna, as usual, was in and out with us this evening, but it was terrific hearing her voice on the air yet again. And thank you for checking in with us, Anna. Next, we have Atlanta 172, Greg in Bremen. Greg is also in and out with us this evening, but he's probably hanging out listening, and just want to say thanks, Greg, for all the communications that I've enjoyed from you throughout the day, and it's always a pleasure hearing you on the air. Next, I have Atlanta 299, Steve in Roswell. Steve, any thoughts or comments with regards to protocol and etiquette on North Georgia GMRS, or any other remarks?
Well, I think pretty much you've just about covered it. I agree with the kerchunking of remarks and the repeaters. People, the reason people do that is they're afraid to sound like fools on the air, and they want to know if their equipment works, but they're just scared, and they don't understand that everybody's going to be friendly to them when they get here, and they don't want to look like a fool, so they're afraid to transmit. So I just want to say to everybody that's out there that we've all felt those things, and we all know what it's like, and no matter how long we've been in radio or how far we've come in radio, we really do desire to help all the new people come along. Let me break. On another note, in ham radio, we see the same thing all the time. We have new hams come on, and they don't know how to operate, and it just takes a little bit of experience, and just to get out there and do it. We had 21 new or upgraded hams at Slopes Barbecue.
Fantastic.
At our VE session this past Saturday. What was great about it, we had 100% of the people that passed their test or upgrades. I think there were like 4 new extras, ham extras, that came out of that.
Wow, that's great.
But we'll be doing that again. I think it's the 13th of next month, and maybe somebody will want to take some tests. You can go to nfarl.org, and there you can look for the sign up for taking your ham test, and we'll get you upgraded.
Well, fantastic, and very much appreciate your efforts. 21 is a great number for a ham testing session, especially to have a 100% success rate. That's great stuff. But to your point, new hams coming into the North Georgia GMRS. Not everybody comes to this group as a novice. Some people come to this group because they first were a ham, and then they found out that we have more fun than they do, and so they come over here to hang out with us. And I say that in jest because, man, there's a lot of cool stuff that hams do. Cool stuff. But in any case, this group and this network and this net tends to be a little more informal and a little more relaxed and a lot more forgiving in terms of protocol and whatnot. And so hams will come over after having learned that they have to know the phonetic alphabet, and they've got to announce their call sign 4 different ways, and I get wrapped up in that, and I hear them, with the phonetics and the call sign, and I'm in my mind trying to break that down into what that really is. And by the time I've got that figured out, I've missed their call sign, and I've missed their tactical unit number, and I've missed their first name, and maybe all I got out of that was their was the city they're checking in from. So it really breaks my mind when I hear the phonetic alphabet being spoken on GMRS. Now, is there anything wrong with it? No, there's not. There's not a thing wrong with if that's the way that you want to communicate on GMRS radio. You can do that, and you can say Roger, and you can say over, and you can say Batman. It's okay, but it's just not required. It's not necessary, is what I'm trying to convey. But excellent point there. I appreciate your remarks, Steve, and it's great to hear from you. And definitely, I'm going to ask you again, not tonight, but as we get closer, folks. If you want to target date, March 13th is it. Get busy studying. Hamstudy.org is an excellent tool. It's the hamstudy.com. It's hamstudy.com. That's an excellent tool, and there are many, many other resources out there. And if any of you have questions about where to go to study for your ham license, make a make a quick comment on Facebook or even on the air, and many of us would be glad to help get you directed in that direction. March 13th is the date that Steve has, and we also have ham license testing sessions that are going to be available very soon at the Heathkit Radio Shop down in Noonan. So it'll be a drive to get down there, but one of the things that you'll find when you get there is that there's no charge for your ham license testing session. No charge at all. The test session is free to take, and so if you think that maybe you're close but you're not sure that you're there, you can take your test there for free. And if you pass, then fantastic. And if you fail, it didn't cost you $15 to find out you don't know enough, and you have to study some more. So let me break. So there'll be more information. In fact, I think there was a post, but we'll bring it back up to the front with regard to test sessions at the Heathkit Radio Shop in Noonan, Georgia. One more thing I want to mention about that Laurel Test Group that is a part of that in Noonan is that because it's a Laurel group, not only is it free, but they upload the test results electronically to the FCC. And because of that, oftentimes your FCC call sign is issued in hours. Very rarely does it take more than a day. Time and again, I see on the ham radio Facebook pages, people say, well, I passed my test, and how long does it take to get my license? I've been waiting for a week. It took me almost 2 weeks to get my very first license when I tested at a ham club that did not upload their results electronically. Let me break. And as a result, when I upgraded from Tech to General, that was done electronically, and that was very, very quick. So it makes a difference if you're in a hurry, if you're impatient. If you've got all the patience in the world, then it doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure that Steve has indicated that his group uploads their test results electronically as well. So have no fear in taking the test in Roswell if Noonan is too far for you to go. Thank you again, Steve. With that, I'm going to move on to Atlanta 555. Dave in Marietta. Thanks again, Dave, for bringing Sheree on the air. It was great to hear her. And do you have any thoughts or comments or remarks with regards to protocol and etiquette on North Georgia GMRS Network?
Yeah, Justin, great job tonight. Great topic. I think it's awesome that you help get the word out to all the new users. Really don't have too much to add, but I enjoy these Thursday nights. So back to you, over Roger Gilligan.
Copy that, over Roger Gilligan. I love it. Fantastic. We're going to have some new terminology at the end of this. I'm just sure of it. But in any case, yeah, I tell you, and I look forward to Thursday nights as well. It's an effort, it's a challenge, it's like a job, but it's one that I very much enjoy. So and you folks are a big part of why that is. So thank you all for making this an enjoyable thing to do. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 57, Andrew in Holly Springs. Andrew, what are your thoughts with regard to protocol and etiquette in North Georgia GMRS Network?
Good evening, Justin, and everyone on the net. Goodness, I think we've pretty much covered the majority of it, pretty much what the MOU talks about on the website. And that's something that people can, not only absorb the information from this evening on the net, but they can also visit the website and look at the MOU, which everyone had to agree to become a member. But nonetheless, one thing I would like to talk about, and we kind of touched on it, is people being mic shy. I implore people not to be and join into the group, especially if you are trying to better your station. Obviously, the ultimate goal for all of us is participation, or at least it should be, participation and making your station the best that it can be. And a lot of times that will take radio checks. And I do implore people to, do that if they make a change on their station to see if it's for better or worse or, linear or whatever the case may be. I do encourage people to do that and not be scared to do so because, like I said, again, the ultimate goal we all want is to have our station the best that it can be and then hear everyone, converse here on the airwaves. So that's something I kind of wanted to throw in there, and, we're doing okay over here. I'm on vacation this week, so
fantastic.
By default, it's going to be a good week for me. So I'm just counting down the days, unfortunately, and I shouldn't be, for going back to work next week. So anyway, I need to get that out of my mind. Back to net control.
Well, fantastic. And yes, and there's 2 points that you've made that I'd like to expand on. One is, Andrew mentioned that you agreed to the MOU when you became a member, and this is true. Part of the membership application process, there's a checkbox that you check that says that you have read and understand and agree to the MOU. What is the MOU? What even is that? Well, let me expand on that a moment. Let me break. The Memorandum of Understanding is a guideline, a set of rules, and a document that describes how you will behave as a member of North Georgia GMRS on the air. And it talks about many of the things that we've mentioned. And so if you have any question about whether or not what I'm saying is valid, or if you think that you have a different opinion, it all boils down to what the expectation is and what you agreed to when you became a member of North Georgia GMRS. So no one is trying to hold any of that above anyone's head, and we don't have any MOU police out here that's going to browbeat anyone for saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. That's not our purpose, and that's not our goal. But we do have these things in place for a reason, and the big part of that is so that there is a foundation of understanding of how we operate on the air. Now, some of the other resources that are available on the website, as Andrew mentioned, there is a sort of a protocol guide with a picture of 947 and a couple of paragraphs that talk about some of the things that we talked about this evening. And that's an excellent resource. There's a ton of good information. There's a page of frequently asked questions. It's actually more than a page because you can drill down into a number of subtopics from within that. So the resources on the North Georgia GMRS webpage are huge. I tell you, I can't think of anything else that we need to put in it because it is very comprehensive. And if somebody had a worthwhile suggestion of something that we needed to put in it, it would definitely be considered to be added to the page. So with that in mind, thank you for that. And the other thing that you had mentioned, Andrew, about being mic shy and, implore someone to come on the air. Definitely. No one here is the radio professor that knows all the rules and exactly how to do this thing or that thing. And if somebody does tell you that, forget about them. They're not in charge. So you just I would hope that people would just feel welcome and not intimidated to come on the air. And because when it comes to saying the wrong thing or saying something backwards or they're getting a tongue wrapped around, that's me. And here I am anyway. So you just power through it. And I say things sometimes that embarrass myself, and you just keep right on keeping on, and it all works out, and it's just fine. So thank you for that, Andrew. I appreciate your remarks, and definitely good points to make. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 550 Steve in Talking Rock. We were looking at property there at one point. Love that area. Steve, do you have any questions or comments about protocol and etiquette on the North Georgia GMRS network?
50, no. I was a ham before I came this way, and like you said, I have a lot more fun here, and there's a lot more going on here than there was where I
formerly was, and I find the people on here to be. Every once in a while, you run across one that's fresh, but hey, probably 55 years ago, I made a lot of mistakes on the radio too. So no problem. Appreciate it.
Yes, excellent stuff. And as a ham, there's so much more that you can do in radio once you get into that world. But it all boils down to, are you having any fun? And so that's something that you know, we really try to keep this simple and fun. And I'll tell you, one of the concerns that I've had is here lately the nets have run long. And a concern that I have is it too long? Is it going to make people want to go away? Do they not want to hang out for 2 hours while the net's going on? But folks keep showing up. And, if 2 hours is what the net wants, then 2 hours is what I'll give it. And it is fun. It's fun to do, and it's fun to be a part of. And that's why we're here. So that's good stuff. Now, there's lots of fun to be had as a ham radio operator. There are opportunities that just don't end. You can apply the hobby in so many other hobbies. If you like to bicycle, if you like to hunt, if you like to uh, engage in festivities and events within the county, you know. There are balloon launches. There are foot races, marathon races, and stuff that hams can support in terms of communications, and sometimes hams are involved in timing equipment and stuff like that for those events. Um, there's no way for me to list all of the various things that you can do in ham radio. Communicating with satellites, satellite passes, space stuff. There's a ham radio repeater on the ISS, the space station. It just goes on, and the opportunities are just endless. So if you have an interest in radio beyond GMRS, I definitely encourage you to pursue that. But you can come back here and hang out with us, and we're going to have a good time. You can do both. So there you go. Thank you for that, Steve. I appreciate your comments. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 912, Alfonso in Marietta. Alfonso, what are your thoughts and comments with regards to protocol and etiquette on North Georgia GMRS?
No comment. Rules that need to be followed. That's about it.
We had a tough copy on you there, Alfonso, but I think I heard you say that that was about it, that rules need to be followed. And yes, and that is true, and that's kind of part of the point that we're making here. But also, there's a lot of rules with GMRS radio that are not rules. And, just like I was talking about at the beginning of this, is that to make a call, to introduce yourself on the air, doesn't have to be complicated and is not a firm, hard, fast way to do it. You can come on the air and you can say, hey, Alfonso, this is Justin. And, if I came on the air and said that and you heard me, you would answer me. You would answer me probably with your TAC number. This is Atlanta 912. Hey, Justin, what are you doing? That's what I would expect, and it's okay. We have tactical unit numbers, and we do enjoy using them for the most part, but it's not part of the FCC rules to do that. So what you have to do is you have to identify your communications. So if you're kerchunking and you don't identify, well, that's a violation of the rules. But if you kerchunk and then you come on and say, this is Atlanta 946 WQYR 514 testing, well, then you've satisfied the FCC requirement. So that's the thing, is just identify your transmissions, and then everything else is kind of okay. Just come on the air. We just want to hear you on the air. So thank you for that, Alfonso. I appreciate your comments. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to Atlanta 948, Gary in Woodstock. Gary was in and out with us this evening, as he often is, but it was great to hear from him. It was also great to hear from Atlanta 180. Mike was sounding terrific from the Cereal Bowl at Cherry Log. Mike is in and out with us, but thanks, Mike, for checking in, and hope you're hanging out, monitoring, and we'll look forward to hearing you on the air throughout the day and enjoying some of those conversations. Next on my list is Atlanta 291 Nick in Ackworth. Nick is a coworker of mine. We both work for the same railroad and enjoy very much Nick's sense of humor and he's a good guy to work with. Nick is in and out with us this evening, but I'm sure he'll be back. Next I have Atlanta 780 Houston in Austell. Houston's going to stick around with us for a minute. So let's see what Houston has to say about protocol and etiquette on North Georgia GMRS Network. Let's see here.
Hey, good evening, Justin. Good evening to the rest of the net. I guess the main thing is don't say anything to someone on the net that you wouldn't want someone to say to you. And I guess over is good. At least that lets you know when somebody's through talking. And let's see. The other thing was on the nets. And we all probably need to get into doing that. It's something that hams do all the time. Is when you first start off is to say this is and unkey. And if you don't hear anything, go ahead and try to log in, and it saves a lot of time of people talking over each other or two or three people talking at one time and you can't understand either one of them. And if you hear someone say this is, just wait a minute and let them get theirs and then put yours in there. I guess that's about it. I think you've covered everything.
Well, if I can get my lips and my tongue to do the same thing at the same time, that's an excellent point, Houston. And yes, in terms of checking into the net, that does help tremendously. If someone says this is, and then they let off the key, wait just a minute and listen. The listen part is important because if somebody else chimes in there, either they didn't hear your this is or they don't understand what it means. Go ahead and wait and let them check in. But at the same time, when you hear somebody key the mic and say this is and let go, the reason they're doing that is because they want to make sure the channel is clear before they continue. And once they have confidence that the channel is clear, they'll go ahead and continue with their check-in. And that makes it easier for the net controller to be able to hear and log. And it also it makes it less likely that you'll double with someone. Now it happens anyway sometimes. But if it's something that we all begin to practice, it's something that we'll all begin to do better. But if you just plow your way through and make your call out, and I hear it, I'm going to log you. That's all that's required here. Is if I can hear your transmission and I can understand the words that you're saying, even if there's a double, and even tonight there were a couple of times that there were doubles, but I was able to hear enough of one or the other to be able to at least get one of them logged. So that being the case, what's the rule? Do the best you can. That's the rule. Do the best you can, and we'll figure it out the best we can, and that's what it's all about. We're here to have a good time, and so I'm gonna do that, and I hope that everyone else does too. So thank you for that, Houston. That's a good thought. I appreciate that. Next I have Chat 69 Ron in Chickamauga. Did I say that right? Sorry about that. All right. Chat 69, Ron, maybe you were in and out and I just missed that. And if that's the case, then we're going to go ahead and show you as in and out in a log. And then if you have comments or remarks you'd like to make, we'll open up the floor here after a bit. You can chime in then. But it was great to hear you. Thank you for checking in with us this evening. We're going to go ahead and move on to Atlanta 442. Greg in Ackworth. Greg, do you have any remarks or questions about protocol etiquette? Okay, same thing with Craig. We're going to go ahead and show Atlanta 442 as in and out. Craig, if you have any questions or remarks, go ahead and chime in here in a little bit, and we'll see if we can get you in here. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and move on to Noonan 7-4. Brandon in Noonan. Brandon, are you still with us, and do you have any questions or remarks?
Yeah, Justin, I've been hanging out listening in, but I don't really have any remarks. Pretty sure it's all being covered, and I'll let the net carry on where everybody can get some rest tonight, and I'll say good night to you and everybody on the net.
No, all right. Well, I appreciate that, Brandon. It's great to hear you on here, and we have covered a lot of material. There's a couple more things that I'm hoping will come up, and we can dig into a little bit. But we'll see how things progress. And with that, I'm going to wish you a good evening, and thank you for checking in on the North Georgia GMRS Net. Next, I'm going to move on to Atlanta 141 Ken in Big Canoe. Ken, do you have any questions or remarks with regards to protocol or etiquette on the North Georgia GMRS network?
Justin, thank you so much, and thank you for doing a super job facilitating the meetings that we have. These are awesome. One of the things around the kerchunking could be some of this new guys like me a couple weeks ago. You know, if you walk around your house with a little handheld, if you go to pick it up and you pick it up from side to side, yep, that's a kerchunk. And
Yeah.
I apologize for that happening a couple times last week. What I've learned to do is when I grab my radio, just take it and grab it from the front to back. Let me get a break in here. The other thing is, I just want to make mention of, where do I send my check for the entertainment value? I've been listening. You're right. The new guys, we just listen, and we listen intently. And I'll tell you what, love listening in. And you know the guys that I'm talking about. Houston, Mike, Clarence, all you guys talking about your chickens and your dogs and your cows and all that. The entertainment value is super. You bring a smile to a lot of faces all day long. So I really appreciate all that you guys do as well.
Yes, that is very entertaining, and I've enjoyed a lot of those conversations as well throughout the day and throughout the evening. And all that chatter and all that busyness on the air just draws in more interest and draws in more people that are curious and want to get involved. So, and it's something that we actually have talked about and have endeavored to encourage literally for years. Something called a rag chew. There was a time when we had net control. We had net meetings every evening, every weekday evening, 5 nights a week. And we had several net controllers that rotated through. And there was a period of time when all of the net controllers had vacation time scheduled during the same week. And we endeavored to find people to fill in unsuccessfully. And so there was a lot of consternation and concern about what are we going to do? There's no net controllers. There's not going to be anybody. How are they going to operate the radios next week without a net controller? Well, obviously, you don't need a net controller. If a couple of guys want to come on the air, or 3 or 4 guys want to come on the air or more and have a conversation, there are a number of ways to do that. We often refer to that as a rag chew. And one of the key components to having a successful rag chew is to learn that when someone finishes speaking, that you offer a little bit of space and time before the next person keys the mic. That does a couple of things. That gives everyone a reasonable opportunity to respond to that comment, but it also allows for maybe someone else to interject and interrupt that conversation. So I tell you, there's been plenty of times, not this year, and really not last year, but before that I would get off of the bus. I used to ride the express bus back and forth to Midtown for work every day. And in the evenings, I would get off the bus thinking, I'm going to call 947, my wife, and see where she's at, because she's not waiting here at the bus stop to pick me up. And is she a minute away or is she 10 minutes away? Because oftentimes when I get off the bus, I need to use the bathroom. And if she's going to be a little while, I've got a couple of options. But if she's only going to be a minute, well, then I'll just wait. I would get off the bus and turn the radio on and immediately key the microphone and be doubling with someone who's already engaged in a conversation. I made that mistake several times, and it's kind of embarrassing to do, but I did it. Let me break. And sometimes the other problem that I would have is that there'd be somebody engaged in a QSO that as soon as one person finished speaking, the other person was on the air, and they were quick keying to the point where I was unable to interject and unable to get a short message in to find out where 947 was at. And so I just had to wait because the radio was so busy that I just didn't have an opportunity. So when you're having extended conversations, it's always good to offer a break periodically, so that if somebody is trying to get in or if somebody wants to join your conversation, they have the opportunity to do so. So great comment, Ken. Appreciate that. And real quick, because your station sounds so good, tell me what equipment you're using.
Ocean 805G handheld, little 5-watt radio, picked up a couple weeks ago. It's based on that super heterodyne technology, and it seems to be doing a good job. I got a little 18-inch, was it a Nagoi, I think, antenna to replace the rubber ducky to get a better signal.
Yeah, for a handheld, that you have an outstanding signal, and you sound great coming into the machine. So appreciate that. Thank you for that, Ken. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to Atlanta 225. Mike, a longtime friend of the North Georgia GMRS net. Mike is in and out with us this evening, but appreciate you checking in, Mike, and look forward to catching up with you real soon. That brings me next to Atlanta 26, Flip in Druid Hills. Flip, can you tell me, do you have any thoughts or questions with regard to protocol or etiquette on the North Georgia GMRS network?
Well, thank you, Justin, for doing such a great job tonight. This is an awesome review. I do want to second what Houston mentioned about this is and then unkeying. The key is to unkey and listen. Because I hear a lot of people say this is, and then they just go on and with their call sign and stuff. And it really helps to unkey and listen to see if you're doubling, because we do have a lot of doubles, especially in analog. And then the other thing on my list really was something that McDonough 22 taught me last time we had this review, and that is that when you are trying to hail somebody and they're not responding, everybody else is kind of waiting before they use the repeater again to see if you are able to make contact. So it really helps to say, hey, negative contact with number whatever, this is number whatever, and I'm clear. That way people know you're done trying to reach them. So that's helpful too. But otherwise, everything is great. Great review, and thanks.
An excellent point indeed. Yes, when you are making a radio call, it is important to clear up when you're finished with your conversation. That's your opportunity to offer your FCC call sign as required. But moreover, it also lets others who are on the network know that the frequency is available, and that if you have a need to make a call, that you have that opportunity now. Otherwise, like Flip says, people may think that, well, shoot, he's still trying to reach his buddy. I'm gonna have to wait a couple minutes here before they get connected, and then a few more minutes before they. Well, I'm gonna set my radio down and I'm gonna go get a drink, and then and then by the time they do all that, they've kind of forgotten about it and moved on to other things, and so it could turn into be an opportunity lost. So it's something that we need to to remember to do is to clear up either at the end of a failed call or even at the end of a successful call, just to let others on the network know that that you're finished. And good point. Excellent, excellent thought. And yes, this is only works when you unkey the microphone to see if there's anybody else trying to get in on top of you. So that is an excellent point. I appreciate you making that. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 366, Doug in North Allijay. Doug, it's great to hear from you this evening. Do you have any questions or remarks with regards to protocol and etiquette on the North Georgia GMRS network?
Hi, this is Doug, Atlanta 366. I do have a question. If I'm listening in and I hear a couple people talking about a conversation that piques my interest, and I want to jump in as a third person, I don't hear that very frequently, and I don't know how feasible it is, but how do you go about jumping into another conversation as a third person?
An excellent question, and one that has been a challenge for me over time. And it really it depends on the people that are engaged in the conversation if they will offer that break. So if they are talking and they are both quick keying and there's no space in between their transmissions, you're probably not going to be able to get in there. But if people will remember that when they're talking, to leave an opening from time to time, give about a 3 count before you key that microphone so that if somebody is trying to get in there, you can hear them. And if you hear that opportunity, the best thing to do is to key the microphone and wait briefly so that you can know that the repeaters are all linked up. You don't want to wait too long, but give it a half a second or a second, and then just throw your tactical unit number out there, just 366. And if I hear somebody throw a number out there in between conversations, I will definitely acknowledge them and ask them for their remarks. And I think many others would as well. So that's my recommendation. Is there a written rule as to how to do it? I haven't found one, but that's what I would suggest that one do to try to break into a conversation. Is just grab the microphone and say, "This is Doug. I'd like to get in here," or 366, or however. But you just gotta break in there and get their attention is all. And there's not a right way or a wrong way. The wrong thing is when the folks that are engaged in that conversation that you want to break into quick key and don't allow for that opportunity. So I hope that answers your question. Appreciate you checking in with us this evening. It's great to hear you on the air. Doug, are you a new member? No, I didn't copy that, Doug. Are you a new member?
Well, Justin, he said he was a new member.
All right. Okay, I appreciate that. And I guess he must be on the sassafras repeater. I'm on the pine log repeater. And there again, it takes just a moment for all of the repeaters to link together whenever you key the microphone. So it's if it's a short message like an answer is yes, or even if it's a 366, it does take a moment for the repeaters to all link up. So something you have to bear in mind too, especially when you're trying to interject into a conversation. If you quick key, the stations that are talking might not hear your message, as I didn't hear yours. And thank you for that, Houston. I appreciate you relaying that information. All right. So Doug, there you have it, a lesson in real life. Next we have Atlanta 435. Marcia incoming. Marcia, do you have any questions or comments with regards to protocol and etiquette on the North Georgia GMRS network?
but I had a great teacher.
Well, fantastic. I'm glad that you feel confident to come on the air with us, and that you did have that great teacher. And it's great to have you on here. And at any time, if there are questions about how things should go, feel free to either make a remark on Facebook. We have a pretty friendly group of people there as well, and we welcome questions, and we welcome questions from new people. So new people don't get to be old people unless they get the chance to ask questions and have fun doing it. So welcome. It's great to hear you on the air, and we'll definitely look forward to hearing from you again, hopefully next week. Next, we have Atlanta 414, Matt in Kennesaw. Matt, do you have any questions or comments, remarks with regard to protocol and etiquette on North Georgia GMRS?
Hi, Justin, and everyone else on the net. No questions. I think we've done a good job covering the topic, and it's an excellent topic, as most of the topics are on all these nets, and really appreciate that. I just have one comment, and it's probably more just a struggle of my own. Let me break. And that's when I overhear a conversation, and it's really interesting, and maybe I don't know who the participants are on the conversation, and they get to the end of their conversation where they sign off, and maybe they give their tag number and their call sign. Sometimes, and it's probably just with experience, and maybe it's just the way they like to sign off, that they say their tag number or call sign so quickly that it's hard to pick up. and I can only imagine what that's like for you and Flip trying to keep track of this when you're logging at the beginning of the net. So that's just one thing that, and I'm a new ham as well, and it's doubly hard now, right? Where it's the call sign tag numbers are a little easier to remember than catching call signs. So that's my comment, and I really again appreciate everything, Justin, that you do here. And
Well, thank you for that, Matt. And yeah, I have to agree. Sometimes when people do sign off, I hear a lot of people just sign off with their call sign, and they don't even mention their TAC number. And of course, that's okay. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But like you say, for people that are trying to get to know voices and names and numbers, that just adds another level of challenge. So us experienced users need to remember that and try to be as forthcoming and informative as we can, even with something as simple as signing off. So good stuff. I appreciate your remarks and something to keep in mind. If you do catch the tactical unit number, but you don't know what that person's name is, we do have a roster that you can find on our webpage, and you can search people by their TAC number pretty easily on that roster. In fact, that's something that I do very often through the check-in process. Is the roster is open on my computer in front of me, and if I only hear part of it, or if I only hear your name, or if I will use that roster to try to fill in the blanks, but it's not always something that I can do quickly enough. And what sometimes happens is I'm looking at the roster trying to figure out who that was, and I miss the next two calls. And sometimes Flip helps me out with that. If he sees that I'm not entering, he'll go ahead and enter in those fields for me. And sometimes he doesn't, and then I got to go back and figure it out. So, but that's just one of the tools that's available. If you're hearing one of those conversations and you'd like to know who it was, that's one way to find out. All right. Well, we have one more check-in before we ask for additional check-ins. So, Mark, you've got our last spot here, Atlanta 106. Mark in Dallas. Mark, do you have any questions or comments with regard to North Georgia GMRS protocol? Looks like somebody's trying to jump in here by way of Zello. We'll make a hole for the Zello user after we hear from Mark. Atlanta 106. Mark, do you have any questions or comments? You're up. Okay, we're going to go ahead and show Mark in and out of the log, and we're going to offer our thanks for checking in with us this evening, and appreciate you hanging out with us, at least for as long as you did. I know these nets are running long here lately, but at this point, we're at the end of our list. So I'm going to go ahead and offer the opportunity for any additional late check-ins and any further questions or comments. The floor is open. Net control is standing by.
Atlanta 136, WRCR 980.
Go ahead. Mark, Atlanta 186.
This is Atlanta 270. I have a follow-on question about signing out. When's it appropriate? What do we need to do? And how do we go about that?
Okay. All right. So heard several doubles in there, and the only log entry that I was able to make was Atlanta 136 Aiden in Tucker. Aiden, I've got you here in a log, and we're going to come back to you here in just a moment. I heard Atlanta 270 with a question. How do we log out? And we'll come to that here in just a bit, but we're not ready for it yet. So please bear with me as we seek out these additional check-ins. If I haven't called you, then I didn't hear you. And like I said, there were a couple of doubles. It looks like somebody trying to check in on Zello, and we heard something from the Lookout Mountain machine. So if those stations would come in again. And Atlanta 106, if you're trying to come in, we'll get to you here in just a minute too. Stations that we're trying to check in, please call Net Control now.
This WREC 529, Chattanooga 58 on the Lookout Mountain repeater.
All right, YouTube, I know you can't see those log entries anymore, so you're going to have to look at me. Okay, I've got Chattanooga 58, Bill, on the Lookout Mountain machine. It's great to hear from you this evening, Bill. Atlanta 106, Mark in Dallas. Were you trying to come back?
This is Atlanta 106. Sorry, I was having some issues with Zello here, trying to get, learning how to use it. I guess it's easier on the phone than it is on the PC. I was just going to say thank you for the nets. I mean, you're talking about new users not wanting to talk. This is an excellent place to kind of get into things. But I'm not new in the radio world. I remember being on a CD back when I was quite young, and when you still had to have a license to do it. So, signing in and out is something that's normal, that I've always thought of anyway. But what I really thought that was a great addition was the ability to interject, because I've been listening to some conversations on the air where I had something to say, but I didn't know if I could, and if I could, then how do you do it, and all that kind of stuff. Some conversations during the day, and I think that's a great opportunity to be able to, meet people and keep the conversations going. I think that's an excellent addition to the information that we've gotten tonight.
Yes, and Mark, I appreciate those remarks, and that's something that's key too, because as operators, we also have to remember to make those holes available for people to interject. And of course, if you're unable to because the people that engaged in that conversation are quick keying and they're just and I'm guilty of that sometimes too. I nobody here is perfect, and we all make these mistakes. And so if you can't get in and interject, then oftentimes just wait until the conversation closes and you hear somebody key up or clear up, and then you can go ahead and call and follow up with a new conversation, that way. But there's no limit to how many people can be engaged in a conversation. Um, we have a particular. Yeah, I think I timed myself out. We have a particular. All right. Okay, sorry about that. I have a radio complaining about being hot. I wonder why that is. Long-winded net controller. So my apologies, but I think we're back on the air with the standby radio, the old reliable TK880. So awesome to have that capability in here. Um, but yes, Mark, as I was saying, when the opportunity to interject doesn't present itself, then just jump in at the tail end and make it happen that way. So great to hear from you. And I also recall my dad having a license for his CB radio. By the time I got into the point where I was going to have a CB, I was in my mid to late 20s, and it was no longer required. But good stuff. With that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to Atlanta 136 Aiden in Tucker. Aiden, do you have any questions or comments with regard to protocol and etiquette on North Georgia GMRS?
I think it sums it all up. I know I came at the end here. I would say I've been on a few round tables here, times few or more people, including the men. But I would say if you're calling up for someone, don't respond, clear up, like you said before, listen a little bit. But other than that, all I have to offer is that I'm actually going down to Statesboro this weekend. Family for the morning kids college. And spending the day with the family. I've been here in the house, just time to kind of stretch and move the legs, get out, and kind of take a little mini vacation and go down there and have a good time. And, yeah, you're sounding good up there, Justin. Thank you.
All right, Aiden. Well, I'll tell you, we had a tough time hearing your signal through the noise, but I did hear some of that, and clearing up after trying to make a call does make a difference for folks that are waiting to use the radio. You're right about that. And I heard you talking about that you were getting ready for college, and that's exciting stuff. What an exciting time of life. And I think I know which school you're gonna go to, but I could be mistaken about that, so I'm not going to mention it. But in any case, we wish you well with that. And I think I also heard you talk about spending the day with your family, and that's always, it's family first. And around here, that's the deal too. And there will be times when we have family gatherings here, and I will when things happen like that, and I'm not going to be available for the net, I will make an effort to find someone to fill in for me. There could very well be opportunities or occasions where there's no net controller on a given evening. And if that happens, then it's my hope that all of you would come on the air and engage in, as Aiden had mentioned, a round robin sort of a conversation. And that is that someone comes on the air and makes a statement and passes it off to another person. And Sometimes that can be a directed round robin, and sometimes that can be one where you just make a comment and you wait and we'll let someone else make a comment. All right, maybe I have an SWR problem because no, this radio is not hot. I'm not sure what's going on. But as I was saying, the round robin format is one that we can talk more about, where if there's no one to direct a net, we can certainly do that. Engage in a rag chew. There's lots of opportunities. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be driven by a net controller. Let me break. Okay, and that brings me next to our last check-in of the evening, Chattanooga 5-8. Bill in Lookout Mountain. Bill, do you have any questions or comments, remarks with regards to North Georgia GMRS and protocol or etiquette?
D529 Chattanooga 5-8. I understand now that business communications is no longer allowed on GMRS. What consists of business communications? Would it be, could you ask somebody where they work, something as mundane as that? But anyway, could you elaborate on that for me? Go ahead.
Good question, Bill. Yes, business communications. Around here, we sometimes hear various restaurants and or hotels or other businesses. Sometimes you'll hear a crane operator. Sometimes you'll hear other construction workers talking. Maybe they've got a road closure, and the guy's holding the slow stop signs, talking back and forth. A lot of times, these are just simply cases of GMRS radio being used inappropriately. Sometimes it's just simply a matter of people using FRS radios on GMRS frequencies, which they can do. And we've got typically better radios than they have, so we hear them when they can't hear much beyond themselves. So let me break. So that being the case, those are the business communications that are no longer allowed. However, some of those businesses have held GMRS licenses and been grandfathered in and continue to renew and are allowed to use the GMRS frequencies. That being the case, we just have to give way. We don't owe them anything. They don't owe us anything. But if the channel's busy, then find another channel or work it out. But and that's what the FCC expects, is that we just work it out. So they're most likely not going to get involved if someone is using the GMRS frequencies inappropriately. So we just need to find a way to work it out. But great question, Bill. Glad to have you as a part of the North Georgia GMRS network tonight. I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor one last time for late check-ins and any additional questions. Net control standing by.
Hi, Justin, this is Jesse. Just a quick question.
Atlanta 509, Jesse. Yes, please go ahead. Atlanta 509, Jesse. Go ahead with your question.
About that, I was just wondering. I was looking at the website, trying to see where or how it is possible to add your ham call sign to the roster.
That that is an excellent question. So if you'll go to the North Georgia GMRS store and click on the shop now, you'll have you'll see the membership levels. There should also be a place where it says update my info, and if you'll click on that, that's an opportunity for you to go ahead and put in a change of address, change your email address, or add your call sign for your ham ticket so that we can keep our roster updated. Not an important thing. It's not vitally important that we know who's a ham and who isn't. It's just more of an interest thing. It's kind of interesting that throughout the duration, our ham membership has been right around 50%, give or take. And I kind of think that in light of current events and the elevated interest in GMRS radio, that we may see that percentage shift a little higher. But it's exciting to watch, and we'd love to have you update that information. So at the North Georgia GMRS store, just go past all the membership levels, and you'll see the thing there where you can click on for Update My Info. So I hope that answers your question. And do we have any other late check-ins, any other questions? Net Control standing by.
Garrett from Onion Falls. Good evening, Justin and Annette. Sorry, I think I walked on the gentleman earlier. My apologies.
Net Control acknowledging Atlanta 438, Garrett in Monument Falls. Garrett, do you have any questions or comments with regards to protocol on the North Georgia GMRS network?
I heard, I just turned on the radio, I just left a few minutes ago, and I heard you talking about the businesses that use it, and it's funny you mentioned that. I had a run-in with, well, it wasn't a run-in, it was more of a courtesy call to the Flag Force workers. I guess they're all using mobile and handheld GMRS radios, and they were bombing me continuously for the past few weeks, and I was able to get through to them, and I just advised them, hey, you guys are talking on repeater inputs, and if you could kindly go to the FRS section, and you can talk away, and they acknowledged, and finally, cease and desist on talking on the repeater input channels, and I just, politely reminded them that this is, you need FCC call sign, so on and so forth, and, but no, everything's kosher on my end.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm glad that you had some success with that. I recall hearing you talk about that some recent time ago, and your frustration with them actually being in on your, I believe it was your private repeater. They had the PL frequency for that, so that would be particularly annoying to have them utilizing your equipment improperly. And that's an important point, because you're responsible for the traffic on that repeater. Your machine, your repeater, your responsibility. And if you are knowingly enabling people to use it inappropriately, then you can be held responsible for that. So you kind of have that obligation to have a conversation with folks, and if they won't stop, then you might have to take your repeater down temporarily to get them to stop. These are things that North Georgia GMRS has and does do. If we have inappropriate use on the machines, we will disable the machine if we need to. That's kind of a last resort, but sometimes that's what has to happen. So good stuff. I think we had someone trying to check in on Zello. So Zello check-in. We're going to wrap this thing up here in a minute, but before we do, I'm going to make a hole for our Zello user to try to check in.
Hey, Atlanta 401. I had no comment. I was just checking in to let you guys know I was here. Thank you.
Atlanta 401. Okay, we're going to add you to the log, and go ahead and come back with your name and where you're checking in from.
My name is Dave, and I'm actually in Jupiter, Florida this week, so that's the reason for the Zello. My B-Tech just can't seem to hit the repeater from down here.
Understand that, Dave. Well, you are our second Florida check-in this evening. Atlanta 253. Donald also checked in from Panama City Beach, Florida. So, but we've got you here in the log, and you are our 39th check-in for this evening. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Appreciate you making the check-in with us this evening. And with that, I'm going to find my part of the script that says this concludes the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. Tonight we had a total of 39 check-ins, including myself. Net Control will now be returning the repeaters back to normal use. Everyone who signed in should sign out. So this is the part where we all get to check out. So anyone who has not yet checked out or has done the check in and out, if you've checked in and out, then you're exempt from this because we've already got you excluded from the log. But if you've not done that, then you need to go ahead and sign out with your call sign, and also with your tactical unit number would be helpful. So I would do it like this. This is Atlanta 946. WQIR 514, and I'm clear.
G25.
Hello, WRKR 265. I'm clear.
Net Control.
Atlanta 285, WRKN 234, Maryville, Georgia. We're clear and love to talk to the end in Cage Cove at some point later.
225, stand by. I'll be hanging out for you.
WRFS 77.
Okay, it looks like our recording stopped there very close to the end. That was unintentional, but we're at a place now where we're going to wrap things up. Thank you all for hanging out with us this evening. Sorry about the interruptions in the live stream. I do need another operator in here to keep an eye on that. It's just too much for me to manage all of the buttons at the same time. Thanks tons for hanging out with us this evening. This will conclude our North Georgia GMRS live stream, and hopefully we can do this again next week. Appreciate you all hanging out with me tonight. Good night, everyone.